guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Mercy, and this is the House of Mercy Chi, where we talk about everything and anything. So today we're talking about grudge. Grudge is a heavy topic. It's actually quite a heavy topic to discuss. I'm going to be reading two stories today about two women who hold grudges towards their mothers. And then we can talk about grudge in a bit more detail. So someone's asking, how can I let go of a grudge held against my narcissistic mother? To start with, I don't remember ever liking my mother. From as far back as I can remember, she was always mean, angry, bossy, controlling, extremely demanding, and I tried hard to avoid her as best I could. From a young age, I was the one who had to look after the household chores. I had to make her coffees every day. As a result, I do not drink coffee myself because the smell takes me right back to that sad, trapped feeling of living with her. It wasn't until I became a teenager that I started to complain about my life. It wasn't so much the huge amount of chores I had in comparison to my friends. It was more that I wasn't ever allowed to go out with my friends or see boys in any way. I started keeping a diary when I was 14. Mostly, I wrote about my feelings and the things I'd done with friends. But if I had my eye on a boy, of course, he'd feature heavily in the pages until I lost interest in him. My mother found and read my diary, and I was made to feel like a complete whore for imagining what it would be like to kiss a boy. I cried about this to my friend, and they told me it was normal to think these things, etc., etc. They showed me that there were other opinions beside my mother's. One of them told me it was something she'd been talking about with her own mother recently, how jealous I felt of her life. To be able to speak to your mother without worrying about it turning into a slap or a sermon. I went right off the rails, according to my mother, around 15 years of age. She took me to see a therapist. But after we both explained our sides, the therapist sided with me, and we never went back. This was another eye-opening thing for me. I now knew I wasn't the evil girl my mother made me out to be. I got a full-time job at 15, and shortly after my mother told me that if I couldn't keep up with my chores and follow her rules, that perhaps I should move out. I had run away about 10 times prior to this, but she always had the police find me and bring me home from whichever friend was currently hosting me. When she suggested this move out, I said nothing, knowing she was using it to try and scare me. It thrilled me. I secretly hatched a plan to do just that. How could she send the police out to get me after saying this? I found an advert for a room in a house near my work. I earned just under $5 an hour 20 years ago. After rent, I had enough money for a few loaves of bread and some jars of peanut butter. I lived on sandwiches, and despite craving a hot meal some days, I was happy I was in charge of my own life. I wasn't a slave for anyone, let alone an ungrateful bitch who acted as though I was the ungrateful one. I think she expected me to crumble under the pressure of real life and come running home. When that didn't happen, after about a month, she sent the police to get me. She had only one more month of being able to do this because I was 16 and the police wouldn't be able to force me home. I went home without too much of a fight this time. Truthfully, I was hungry for anything besides a damn sandwich, and I figured I'd save some money this way and be better prepared to live on my own. I moved out at 17 this time. I actually kept in touch with my mother because she was a lot easier to deal with. when she was unable to control me and force all her chores upon me. My brother complained about having to do the dishes, but from what he said, he had a fairly light load of housework. Mother was actually doing more herself. I wondered why this was. He suggested that it might have been because he always did such a crap job of everything that she ended up doing it herself in the end anyway. For the next few years, we had a tense relationship. She always wanted me to go to church or family things with her, but I had enough of all that to last me a lifetime. I had to endure church 2 to 3 times on a Sunday because she was so heavily involved in it, and I wasn't allowed to stay at home alone. When I was a teen, because she wouldn't trust me not to go off with my friends, I also had to go to youth group on Friday nights and cell group, which I was actually forced to host on Wednesday nights. I was incredibly glad to escape all of this when I left. She tried and guilt me about my church friends wondering where I was. As for my extended family, I'd go along to Christmas and Easter, anniversaries, things that I considered important, not every damn weekend just because. I have my own life now, mother. In the end, that's exactly what brought us undone. She sent me a rage-filled email at 4 a.m. about how selfish I was being by not going to the latest family gathering. She had a line in there that really rubbed me the wrong way. As your mother, in quotation marks, as your mother, I have every right to kick you in the pants if I think you're making bad choices. I was so angry when I read this. Bad choices? I'm not doing drugs. What the hell? So I'm trying to live my own life. So I'm not into spending every spare minute with my family that I barely like. She had no idea how much resentment I still had for the way she treated me during my childhood and teenage years. As far as I was concerned, she had no rights, and she was lucky I'd graced her with my presence thus far. I typed back my own rage-filled email full of everything I ever thought of her and told her I wanted nothing to do with her anymore. She wrote back gingerly, but wouldn't answer to any of the crimes I accused her of. She admitted nothing. She apologized for nothing, so I stuck to it. We emailed back and forth, and every time she would dodge my claims until I demanded an explanation for her exploitations of me, at which point she told me she had it worse and I was imagining the rest of it. She even said something about demons placing evil and untrue thoughts in my mind. I actually think she believes that too. What hope is there that I can forgive her when she can't admit what she did? In response to this message, another lady wrote, "Oh my, sadly, your story and mine have a bit in common. My mother was an ordained minister, so I also got force-fed all the Jesus junk and plenty of guilt while growing up. She was also disabled from a back injury, so I was the one who had to cook and clean and get my younger brother and myself to school in the mornings. I can remember walking to the grocery store in freezing weather at 8 years old to purchase groceries so that we could eat. When I started working at 15, she started to see me as a cash cow. I worked my ass off before and after school at 15 to pay for family's car payments, both my mom's and my car insurance, and was fully expected to purchase all of my own provisions, including clothes, food, etc., etc. If she did get something for me, I was expected to promptly pay her back, usually with some sort of catch or interest. Whenever I've mentioned these things to her, she told me that I must be imagining things because I never had it that bad. The kicker is that she always claimed God was healing her. Yes, for over a decade, she was being given a healing. She had faith this was true, even though in reality she was doped up to no end, getting worse by the week, could barely get out of bed most days, and needed a walker to get around. After moving far away for some years, I decided to help her in hopes that perhaps her heart would change if her body felt better. I paid for everything, flew her to the state I was living in, and paid for a specialist who knew what the hell he was doing. Let her stay in my house while she was recovering, fed her, purchased supplements she needed, etc., etc. Long story short, her recovery seemed to be a miracle. She ended up walking again on her own after the second visit and was eventually able to get off her meds and live a normal life. Today, despite all the surgeries and her goddamn doctors trying to kill her, she physically lives a pretty normal life. Do you think she ever once thanked me? Not for anything. Nope. It was simply God that did everything for her. I felt guilty a long time ago when I went no contact, but now my life is so much better without all that dysfunctional bullshit. Abuse is abuse. It matters not if it comes from your parents, spouse, or mailman. We don't have to tolerate it. I don't know who hurt you. I saw a video earlier this week that really got me thinking about this whole grudge issue. That's why I just felt like talking about it. I'm going to play the video at the end of this talk, this rant. When you think about it, a lot of us have been hurt. A lot of people have been hurt by friends, by family, by parents who they try to impress, by siblings who have lied against them and accused them of things that they didn't do, by colleagues at work, by people that they trust, by religious leaders. Name them. A lot of us have been hurt, a lot. But I saw this video and this woman talks about how all these won't matter in the next 100 years. And it actually got me thinking, she is right. It will not matter in the next 100 years what we think, who we hold a grudge against. It wouldn't matter anyway. It wouldn't matter anymore. Because this woman was asking how she can forgive her narcissistic mother. I'm not here to preach, because most of us, or some of us, are obviously from different religious backgrounds. But the same way we make reference to literature, I'm just going to make reference to Luke. So Luke 17 says, "Take heed to yourselves. If your brother sins, rebuke him. And if he repents, forgive him. And if he sins against you 7 times in the day and turns to you 7 times and says, 'I repent,' you must forgive him." But there's a clause here. The clause here is if they come and tell you that they repent or that you should forgive them or they're in the wrong, then you must forgive. Fine. But what happens if they don't come to you to ask for forgiveness or to tell you that they repent? What do you do? What if they never apologize for what they have done to you? What if they never acknowledge what they have done to you? Because a lot of these people don't ever apologize or acknowledge. Like these mothers, for example, actually said that they're imagining things. Their daughters are imagining things. How many daughters out there have been through things? How many children have been through things in the hands of their parents? And when asked, the parents say, "You're imagining it. It's not that bad." And they never actually take accountability. A lot of people will not take accountability for what they have done. What do you do as the offended? Do you say, okay, they haven't asked for forgiveness, I will not forgive them? But the same Bible also says that we have to forgive each other so that God in heaven can forgive us our own sins. So where do you draw the line? Where do you find the balance? It's hard. It's hard to let go when someone has hurt you. It's hard to forgive, especially when someone or when the person who hurt you never came to apologize, never, took accountability for what they have done. Okay, but let's put religion aside for now. The bottom line is that we have to forgive. We have to forgive, not just because it's the right thing to do, but from my own perspective, because it benefits you in the long run. We have to forgive for our own sanity. We have to forgive for our own health. Because actually, forgiveness, research has shown that forgiveness actually benefits our health. When we forgive people, we become healthier than we were when we were holding a grudge. So I'm not saying forgive and forget. I'm of the opinion that yes, forgive, but don't forget. You can forgive people, because this woman was asking how she can forgive her narcissistic mother. At the end of the day, her narcissistic mother is also a human being and might have done these things that she did because she didn't know any better. Maybe because of her own upbringing. Maybe because of her own traumas from the past. But at the end of the day, forgiveness is very important. And I am not necessarily saying forgiving and forgetting. You can forgive, but set healthy boundaries. You can forgive, but set healthy boundaries. The fact that you have forgiven doesn't necessarily mean that things automatically go back to the way they were before. You have to protect yourself as well. And forgiveness is good for your health as well, because some research have shown a correlation between forgiveness and a better quality of life. For example, Whitevliet in 2001 found that those who forgave had lower stress compared to those who didn't. Another research by Tosaint in 2012 also suggested that forgiving others could be connected to living a longer and healthier life. Another research by Lola Rowe in 2008 showed that forgiveness was linked to reduced anger and better physical responses, indicating potential health benefits. So forgiveness is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It's for your own benefit. It hurts. When people offend you, it hurts. Forgive for your own sanity. Forgive for your own health. You can't be holding on to a grudge. And it takes a lot to hold on to a grudge. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of emotions. And this messes with your physiological health. It messes with you, both mentally and physically. And forgiving will actually benefit you health-wise in the long run, because everything is connected. Our mind, our physical body, it's all connected. So when you forgive, you actually benefit yourself in the long run. But I'm not saying forgive and totally forget and let your walls down again. No, forgive, but protect yourself. Okay, don't hold on to a grudge. Don't hold on to that pain in your heart. Just let it go. At the end of the day, I'm of the opinion that she should forgive her mother for her own sanity and for her own well-being. I don't know what you guys think. Share with me your thoughts on this post. And also, I want to know about you. Do you have someone on your do not forgive list? And what will it take for you to forgive them? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Please leave your comments below. And if you want to keep it more anonymous, feel free to send a message. We're working on a website where everyone can send in their comments anonymously. And yeah, we will keep those confidential. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this little rant today. And stay with me, and I will see you in my next video. Lots of love.
This is why you shouldn't hold grudges in life.
In 100 years, so like 21, 23, we will all be buried with our families and friends. Strangers will live in our homes that we worked so hard to build, and someone else will own everything we have today. Most of our possessions will be given away or thrown out and destroyed, including the car that we spent a fortune on and will probably be scrapped. Our descendants will hardly know who we are, nor will they remember us. I mean, how many of us know who our grandfather's father was? After we die, we will be remembered for a few more years, and then we're just a portrait on someone's wall. And a few decades later, our history, photos and deeds disappear into history's oblivion. We won't even be memories. If we pause one day to analyse these questions, perhaps we would understand how pointless it is for us to worry about 95% of the things that consume our minds daily. If we could only think about this, surely our approaches, our thoughts would change and we would do things differently. Perhaps we would feel more free to enjoy ourselves and our lives that we're living. Take these thoughts into the rest of your day, this week, this year, and remember the saying, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes being upset by it.